Hello everyone, welcome back to another one of these what I've been playing lately. The first game technically of 2024 for me because our top games of 2023 video is already up. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you check it out. But so at the tail end of this year, but counting towards next year, we have Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, the latest in the Yakuza franchise. And this experience was, how to define it, frustratingly good. I'll have to explain what I mean after talking about it very briefly, just to not spoil anything. Suffice it to say, if you are a fan of the franchise, this is not a game that you should miss. You need to check this out. If you enjoy the previous games in the franchise, you're going to love this. It's everything that you like about the Yakuza games, from the melodramatic, action-packed stories to the fun, hectic and creative and often funny gameplay, the fun areas to explore and re-explore, some like very familiar areas, as well as one really cool new place on the back of a ship, and the same kind of hilarious and fantastically goofy mini-games and engrossing mini-games that you are used to experiencing in these games. That is everything in here. And it's the kind of game where, story-wise, just going straight through the narrative, it's 5 chapters, and will roughly take you around the 10-hour mark, depending on what you do and what gameplay difficulty you're at, things like that. But around the 10-hour mark, so while it is shorter than the average Yakuza game, that's a full game. Just that in itself, that's longer than a lot of the big AAA, action adventure games. Just in that, and the number of mini games, it rivals a lot of the other Yakuza games, particularly a lot of the earlier ones, to where I just about 100%ed everything in here. I think there's like 1 or 2 little maybe side quests I didn't do, and it was somewhere around 30 hours. That's a decent full-length RPG, really, or like multiple longer action adventure games. There's a lot of content in there. And that kind of brings me to my point already, talking about why it's frustratingly good, because I feel like the way, at least from the perspective of what I saw, the way this was advertised and why this wasn't even going to be getting, it doesn't have a physical release in the US, you have to import it. Thankfully there are multiple options and multiple variations on PS4 and 5 where you can get it with English, so it's not really a problem, but all that was building up to its release was kind of treating it as this little side game, could have been DLC type content that if you're a hardcore fan, check it out. Otherwise, you can pass it by. And that's not what this is at all. It was kind of annoyed by the way it was treated, and a little bit surprised, because the story of this game bridges the time period from the end of Yakuza 6 all the way through the years up to Like a Dragon, the 7th game in the franchise. Shows a bit of the events in brief in Like a Dragon from Kiryu's perspective, so it even adds some more layers and texture to Like a Dragon, and then takes his story beyond that, leading up into 8, which comes out next year. So there's a lot of, I think, important pieces to the evolution of Kiryu's character from what we see at the end of 6 all the way to the beginning of 8. I think this is to experience the complete story of that character and really see the massive changes that he goes through in that time period to where we see him in 8. I mean, you have to experience this story. I think it's an essential part of the story of this guy that we've been, following for, I don't know, how has it been, like almost 20 years at this point, or the first Yakuza. I forget what year exactly the first PS2 game came out. But yeah, I've been playing them since then, and this is, I think, just as essential as any of the main games to the evolution of his character. And without, spoiling anything, just trying to keep things as general as possible, because I think if you're watching this video, you're probably like Yakuza, go play this game, you're going to love it. The ending in this one was one of the most emotionally impactful, just truly heart-wrenching endings in the franchise. Like, as far as an ending to a game, This is probably top 4 or 5 easily, including all the spin-offs, Ishin Judgment, like everything. When I say top 4 or 5, including everything, the actual ending, I mean, it's so good. It's one of my favorite endings, and is again, just, I feel like the character of Kiryu in 8, a lot of what is depicted in, going to be depicted in there, and I'll talk about the demo in a little bit included here. I think you need this essential chapter to comprehend how he is at that point and really see like what brought him from the very different persona that is projected in 6 versus the little bit even that's presented in the demo of 8. Seeing that bridge, that story is entirely in this game. And of course, it adds, I think, a lot of interesting background and depth to elements of 7 even. I was actually very surprised by that, and connects some other things too, where there are multiple side quests in this system within this game where you get characters from Judgment making appearances, and there's a lot in here that I think connects to a lot of the franchises, and in story-wise, just an essential part of his character. And it even has, while you're in very familiar areas, fun ways of re-exploring them with a system where you go around and build points by helping people and doing side quests, and then building up your level through that. And the big gambling and Coliseum system that we have in the brand new area, without spoiling too much about that, is just incredible, a lot of fun. And even stuff like the cabaret minigames, I think these were the best in the franchise. Really just kind of fun using actual video of real actresses for the first time in that context for that minigame. And of course, all the spy devices, using a drone and using your watch with a sort of like a whip, and almost like Spider-Man for a lot of things. That's even used in a few cutscenes that add something that's fresh and original that you haven't seen before in this game. So for me, this just feels like a full-fledged Yakuza release, just a little bit on the shorter side, and the little, bit less new as far as areas to explore. But it felt more like, as this series does masterfully, adding more depth and using those feelings of familiarity to build a sense of home within these communities, within these cities that have been there since the earlier games in the franchise. It uses that to its strength rather than feeling just kind of reused. So this was a fantastic game. I was shocked with just how good it was, and with just how much content was in here, again, because of how it was presented. And then included in it as well are 2 demos of Like a Dragon 8, the next series in this franchise, coming out very soon, just about 2 months from when I'm filming this. And that, again, was a crazy inclusion. I couldn't believe we had that little story demo, which was maybe 20 minutes or so, and really just, I wanted to keep going. Like, I'm ready for this game to come out now. That little bit just drew me in completely. And then the larger demo with a little more freedom, you have the ability to explore Aloha Beach and the area surrounding it, just within a few streets before you're restricted, and you get a taste of a lot of different mini games, including a bicycle delivery game that feels like the perfect modern Crazy Taxi, a whole bunch of stuff, and just you get a real taste of what it's going to feel like in this new game. And I've already replayed that portion of the demo twice, and man, in the coming weeks, I might some evening play it again. I'm completely hooked at this point and ready for that game, and I cannot wait. And this really, I think, this built my hype. The seeing again the story of this character that I've grown to love, one of my favorite fictional characters in all of video games, and seeing this important chapter in his life, I think got me even more excited for the build up into 8 than even my enjoyment of Like a Dragon. I think it just adds so much to that. And man, I am so excited for 8. I am ecstatic after replaying, that demo and the experience that this game had for me. As much as I liked Like a Dragon, and turn-based RPGs are my number one genre of games, so I was enjoying that immensely. It is actually my least favorite game in the franchise. That and 3 pretty much together. As much as I enjoyed it, just wasn't quite as much of the experience that I loved as the other ones. I think 8 is going to be one of those challenging my top favorites. I think it's going to be up there with games like 0 and 2 and 6 and Lost Judgment. I think it's going to be incredible, and I think if you are as excited for that game as I am, this is, I think, an essential part of the build-up to that experience, and I think is going to add a lot of emotional depth and connection to the characters leading into that. So this is an essential game in the series. If you're thinking of maybe bypassing it, it's just kind of like a fun little DLC add-on. No, this game is well worth your time to grab a copy.